Okay, so I believe everyone is here. Yeah, I'm going to present today about the continuous deployment. My name is Martin. I've been working on the Zen Framework 2 a lot. I've been doing the modules there. And I've been doing a lot of continuous deployment research in the past, thanks to Morten, who introduced me actually to that concept last year. So, how many people of you are actually using continuous deployment? One second. My slide doesn't work. Good. So that's not many people who are using continuous deployment, as I see. What is continuous deployment actually? We're talking about automation. When we're talking about continuous deployment, we're also talking about integration, testing, and all that kind of stuff. So that you automate your tests, that you always have a continuous deployment build ready, so that you use your tools to keep it automated. Continuous deployment is also reducing your code inventory. What I mean by reducing your code inventory is you're keeping your deployment cycles automated, so you're keeping them fast, and you're always shipping your code out. So when you're shipping your code out very fast, not in a long time span, you reduce whatever you have laying before you have to push it out to a release or push it out to a staging. It also reduces the technical debt. What I mean by reducing the technical debt is if you have on the red line, as you can see here, would be a normal cycle of when you're developing, you're introducing bugs into your system, and it will always be increasing. Your bugs before the end of the lifespan of your project which you're doing, it will be increasing continuously on top. And if you do it in a continuous deployment process, you will not introduce so much of a technical debt. You will be going, and as you can see on the green line, we're always developing a little bit. We're testing everything in the continuous integration cycle. We're developing, we're testing, we're developing, we're testing. In a normal environment where you're working, you have, I don't know, 6 weeks, 1 year that you're developing your project. You just go ahead and you develop, you fix some bugs, of course, but you never really have a testing in between. So one of the advantages of the continuous deployment would be you're always testing frequently. The continuous deployment also gives safety to us. Why I say safety? As you are doing very frequent deploys, or you're very likely to not introduce many bugs. It's not like if you have a normal release cycle from 1 month that you take all your code, ship it out, and then suddenly you're realizing, oh, we have hundreds of bugs in this, and you have to go ahead, you have to search them. Here you can ship out 1 line of code if you want. If that has a bug, you can fix it very fast. You can go back to your rollbacks, back to the previous version. It should not be an issue if you're using continuous deployment. Of course, it also improves the confidence because you are here, you are introducing the safety, so you can go ahead and you really become confident. I can push things out. I can change things whenever I feel like, push it out, and there's less likely to be that you're introducing new bugs. It's less likely to be that you're going to break the whole system. If you push out a lot of code, and suddenly your whole system doesn't work anymore, you're probably going to have a problem there. Could be that this guy comes up then and punches you. Why is my build breaking? Happy customers? If you're pushing out fast, you're pushing out bugs very fast. So you say, I have a new bug now. This afternoon, I'm already going to push it out to a customer. He will be very happy instead of telling him, yeah, we will do it with the next release in 4 weeks. And the customer will not accept this these days. Happy developers. You are more stress-free if you can develop on your own timeline. It's like you push your code whenever you are ready. You are not forced to say, I have to have the code ready by tomorrow because we're going to have a release. You can really take your own time, say, I'm making the code the way I feel, I'm confident that I can push it out. You relax, you become more happy. This would be a continuous deployment life cycle. What I mean, you start developing, and during the development, you're always having your continuous integration running. Where you have it running, that could be at your commit stage, that could be when you're pushing, it could be when you're doing a pull request. It depends on the environment which you are working in your company. So I cannot say, this is a solution where you have to do this. This is more a philosophy that you should follow. Continuous deployment, always follow the continuous integration in this. And after continuous integration goes through, you're going to release it. Release can also be automated or manually through a push button or whatever you have implemented to do this. So I want to talk a bit more about the continuous integration. We have seen testing today, how we can use it to enhance our software. So continuous integration is just a practice where you check all the small pieces that you do very frequently. You check them every time you commit, every time you push, or you do it on your own, that you run it first on your computer. But once you push it out to a certain system, an integration server, there it should always be tested at every stage. All the tests should always run. So this is what continuous integration means for us. One of the advantages, you continuously integrate your new code. You don't keep it on your system and wait until your boss says, now we are going to take all the packages, pack it up, and now we're going to try and integrate it into our system, which can already be like, I have developed something, now my colleague next to me is developing something, now we're both finished, but we don't know if our packages work together with each other. We have no idea if it's really compatible. Maybe we tested it that it's compatible, but on a later stage, someone else has also developed something, and both of them are not working anymore. So we have to also watch out for these kind of things, and with the continuous integration, I'm always pushing to the master branch. I'm always pushing it from one branch in the master. I know it's running. I know it's running with everything that is existing at this point of time. I don't have to worry about, will it still be running in 3 weeks or in 4 weeks, or do I have to change my code so we can integrate it then? Which gives us, of course, a heavy load of work if we have to do all this testing also. All tests run at each integration cycle. Yes, mostly if you're developing something, you will be just running the tests at what you're developing right now. Your one line of code, develop your test, check it. But that doesn't mean that your complete system is working. So all tests from A to Z will run all the time. Each time you're pushing it out. You should create a system in a way that you say, okay, all my tests are going, I'm packaging it all up, I know it's working. We also get an immediate feedback. As I said earlier, I'm packaging everything, I don't know what's going to work in 4 weeks, and I tested it somehow, I have the information, but here we're having the feedback directly. Does it work? Yes, no. That can be within 5 minutes or 10 minutes, depending on how heavy loaded your servers are, on how heavy your testing is. But you immediately know, what is it going to be about? Is my test wrong? Is my code written wrong? Are my metrics wrong? That I put a comma somewhere wrong or something like that. I forgot my code comments. I forgot my doc blocks. All this you can do also directly at the continuous integration cycle to see, to analyze the code. And you have a constant available of a deployable source code. You have it tested, you have it packaged, you know it is running after it has run through the integration cycle. So at any given point of time, you can deploy it to the customer. That can be done automated, that can be done in an hour, that can be done in 1 week whenever you need it. But you always have the code readily available to push it out to the customer. There are systems we are still using where we can't automatically deploy it to the customer. They have some internal systems. But here we should have the code always in a ready available state. Increased visibility. Everyone gets to know what is everyone doing. How are they working? If you're having metrics, like a lot of you are working on PHP, you might be using the PHP CS, the code sniffer, or mess detector. In other languages, I don't know exactly what these are called, but there you can see, yes, is my code good? What bugs have been fixed? It all becomes clear. The boss can see what you're doing, your neighbor can see what you're doing, and everyone knows what is everyone doing at which point, what got changed. It's not like, again, if you go back to the old state, like I'm doing my code, my colleague doesn't know what I'm doing, but I'm integrating it already, so he can see, oh, there's something new. I just have to pull the branch if I'm using GitHub and check, is my code still working? No, it's not working. You changed something? Okay, no problem. I can see what is happening. I have a good visibility on the complete process. Yes, continuous integration without tests does not work. Now, there might be a lot of people, I'm seeing not everyone here is using continuous deployment. Now, how many of you are actually having tests in your application or not having tests? How many of you are not testing? Not testing. Okay, that's already, we should give it back to Ulrika then at this point. Why are you not testing? No. If you want to do a continuous integration, you can, most people, or in the blogs you will read like, you need 100% code coverage, you need everything perfect that you can start with a continuous integration. I believe, and I firmly suggest this also, you can use a continuous integration from today onwards. Write one test, start it, automate it, and you're there already. Your old code, your regression code, you should just go ahead and, actually I skipped that one already. You should write tests for each new identified bug or each new feature that you're developing. If you're starting it today, I wrote my first test, okay, we set up our integration server, we're going ahead, we can run it. We already have a test that can be run at every time it's running through the cycle. So this is where you can get started with this. And it's not too complicated to set up. You can use either the software which is out there, CI servers, or you can just run a simple script as GitHub or whatever you feel like. It's up to the environment what you are using. I'm actually too fast. There's another thing in this continuous deployment. If you're really doing it automated, you probably don't want to take down the website every time you're doing a deploy. Say you have 30 people, and 30 people are pushing out today, it goes normally, so the website shuts down 30 times a day. And the people who are visiting the website, they will be very happy to see this, because they're like, when is it back available? Please try again later. Might be a good idea to put an automated script there. We're back in 5 minutes, maintenance. No. So there are some strategies that you can use. One would be you just do a symlink to the production. Instead of actually laying the code, if you're looking at a PHP or HTML application, instead of putting the code into the folder that is being served through the web, you do a symlink. Keep it somewhere else. And that way you can deploy the code to many multiple folders. You say, I have my version 1 folder, I have my version 2, and you just switch a symlink to the actual directory where you're going to use the application. In Node.js, I have just done that recently. There's a different approach. You can switch the port. Start the application on port 8000, and you start a new application on 8001. Both are accessible. And then you switch off the port 8000 and reroute your proxy. Also a solution you can think of. Or any other method you can come up with. There are many methods which people are trying to implement out there. I basically have used the first two. I'm also looking into others, but yeah, it always depends on what is your company like, how is the infrastructure in our company, how is the infrastructure from our software, how can we do this, how are our servers set up. That all depends really on what you are doing. Another thing is, now we're saying, okay, we're symlinking everything, but it's becoming like a circus on the website because it's saying, okay, we're pushing a new feature out. Oh, I have a favorites button. 5 minutes later, oh, I have another favorites button or share with friends. And my UI is changing every time, and it's like, might be very experiencing for the user, like a game. Every 5 minutes I refresh, I have a new feature available. Other people might say, are they going nuts? What are they actually doing there? Is this a random site that it's just showing the features by some variable where I'm located in which country? No. Keep the visible feature changes hidden until they are ready. This also gives you, coming back to the integration, the option, let's say you want to create something like favorites. You implement the visual side, you implement the technical side, but you are not even sure, is it really working the way it's supposed to be working? So how do you test this? Your production should actually mirror your staging. So we can't mirror it at this point. Either we push it out or we leave it behind. No, you can also go ahead and say, let's do just a simple switch in there. We keep our visible changes hidden. This will enable us now on the staging server, we can just have a config file where we say, okay, I want to switch on this feature, or I want to switch it off. And when you are ready, you can also say then, okay, in my GitHub, I have a master config file which is checked in. I put it to true. Now the feature is always available to the customer. This enables you to tell the customer, hey, next Wednesday, we're having a rollout of new patches and new features available. This is what all we are doing, but the features are already there. We just have to go ahead, take the config file, flip the switches, and it's on. And we know for a fact it's working because it's already been there, just that it was not used at that point of time. There should not be an issue for us to go ahead and flip the switch. We could test it all on the staging, or you can even show it to new customers, like saying, okay, we have these features that we're trying to implement, and you have it ready. They just download it, use it, flip the switch. Okay, here's a new feature. Cool. I basically have done this for one Twitter application. They wanted a photo walk, and now they wanted a voting. And they were also asking me, like, yeah, we cannot upload the voting yet, and because it should only be active at a certain time, and it should not be visible for everyone. Okay, just a simple feature flag. Switch the voting off, switch the voting on. Now, my code was there. I knew it was working. It was all tested on my servers. There was absolutely no issue in using this. Yeah. Another scary part that we have. Most of you, if they hear database upgrades, and they go to your administrator, you probably have him looking at you, saying, what the fuck you want to do database upgrades? Live? Are you totally nuts? We have to take the website down. We have to check everything first. But you can also go ahead and say, I'm doing a database evolution. You always make your database upgradable, downgradable. Yeah. I lost my track, actually. Yes, there's a problem in the continuous deployment. If you want to try and say, okay, we're updating the database now, and we're updating our code. I go ahead, I remove something from the database, or I add something to the database. Now I say deploy, my script runs, it updates the database, but the code is not updated yet. Someone comes to your website, he clicks on it. It might just be a millisecond, depending on how long your deployment time is. It can also be 10 minutes that it says, yeah, I'm broken, please come back later. Again, you get a MySQL error, cannot find column in table XYZ. So synchronizing database and code will never Never work. You will always have a margin error where you say, it's out of sync. I don't have the code to catch it, or I don't have the database to support the code. So you should apply non-destructive upgrades. Non-destructive upgrades means you add something, which you, like in the name table or something, in the user table, you go ahead and you add some new fields. That is not really a big problem to add the new fields. But you should also make it, again, downgradable. Downgradable, meaning if I added the new fields, I should also be able to remove them if I have to do a rollback of the complete system without destroying my customer data. Because if I realize now, I deployed everything, oh, it's not working. 10 minutes later, I have to go do a rollback to the old database. I lost 10 minutes of data. And 10 minutes of data for a company like Facebook or whatever company you're talking about, they will be like killing you. So adding something to the database should not cause any problems. It depends on how you also implement this. Like, let's say we have a working environment. This is a simple table. Everyone has seen something like this in their life. Now, your requirement is, oh, I need now multiple addresses. How do I do it? So what would you guys do? Do you split it up? No. You shouldn't split it up. You shouldn't just split it. You should go ahead and do a destructive database of, this is what I'm saying actually. If you just split it, you have a problem here. Your code might be trying to write to the old table at this point. You removed it. Now your code is trying to write the user address and everything to the old table because the code is not updating. Again, we have the problem of the synchronizing here. The code was not synchronized while you have your database already upgraded. So the website will go down or even do further damage, things that you do not want to do. So how can we avoid that actually? Yeah, then you have this guy calling you on the next line like, hey, my database on my website is down. He will be very happy. Also depends on what is a kind of destructive database upgrade you're doing. What I mean here is you have a nullable field and you may want to make it null now. Should also not be an issue. You're not changing the data set. You're just changing what is behind it. If I put a varchar 200 to a varchar 255, I'm not changing the data. I'm actually also adding, even though it is a destructive database upgrade. It depends on the level of categories that you have. So if we come back and we say, how can we tackle this problem actually now? We have our working environment, everything is running cool. Now we want to do it in a zero downtime without taking the web page down. Upgrade our site. Up, down. Apply the changes without breaking it. We have the user table. Now we need to separate it to make, I want to have multiple addresses. In this case, you can duplicate it. Leave the address, zip, city in the old table. It doesn't hurt you at the moment to say, okay, we know it was working with this. We have in our code now, we say, we're going to use both. We're going to use a new table for the addresses. We're going to use the old table. We're going to continuously write into the new and old table until we are really sure the feature, what we are looking at, is working. Okay. So we have a few tools which we can use for this. I've been looking at Travis, for example. How many of you use Travis? Actually, quite a cool tool. You have it directly integrated into GitHub. It gives you all the integration, what you need to do your testing directly on a pull request or on a push or wherever you need it. You can also do your metrics in there. The next tool that I personally use a lot is also Jenkins. Don't know if you have heard about Jenkins. It's an awesome tool. You can do your continuous integration in there. You can do your continuous deployment in there. Yeah. Bamboo, I'm actually a bit fighting with that one. I opened it and I tried configuring it. It didn't like me so much, but it's also quite an awesome tool. It has the availability. You can use it for an Amazon AWS server to use a Bamboo and get it over that it uses continuous deployment directly on the EC2, where you have problems maybe with a Jenkins to set it up. Thank you. No pressure, I know. I'm already sweating here. LiveRebel, this seems like a very interesting product. I've been looking at it. I've also been talking to a few people. One-click app releases. As I said earlier, you can have either you have an automated deployment mechanism, or you do it by some configuration that you say now, okay, I want to deploy today, I'm pushing it out. This LiveRebel enables you to do this. It has all the features available. Yeah, and there are many more. If you look through the continuous deployment, there's Capistrano, there's so many tools that you can use to do this. It all depends on what is your environment. How is my company working? How is the mentality of my staff members? How can I integrate it? It can be, as I said earlier, it can be a simple script, what you write, or it can be as extensive that you have hundreds of servers running behind it, doing your continuous integration, doing your continuous deployment. It all depends how you need it, how you require it. It's not a one silver bullet tool to use a continuous deployment. Too much? Or am I there? Actually, I'm just thinking, am I too fast? I am, no? I was too fast. I was actually sweating quite a bit. So I cut some few things, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. I'm actually done with all of it. Any questions? I mean, we can have a longer discussion on the question section, I would say. Yes.
I have a question regarding, you said you could configure it so that you can see features sometimes not seen otherwise.
Yes.
How do you keep track of which customer has been turned on and which don't, or how do you, because for me it sort of feels like you should have this big matrix of stuff that can be working and not working.
Yes, you can actually, I said it depends again. At the moment, I'm just using a
You're supposed to repeat the question,
Ah, sorry. The question is actually, how do I manage, you're saying how do you manage it for multiple customers that you have the different configurations? So what I am doing, basically, I have one main configuration which goes into the GitHub. There I say everything is off or enabled. And then I have a local configuration which does not go into the GitHub, and I manage it there that I say now for each customer, he has his own configuration where he can switch it on or switch it off. I override my configurations that way. I have all the configurations in my main config, and I just override it through a local one. You could also say we do it in a database, that you have some website behind it which manages all the clients. That is also one possibility. I don't know now where you keep your configurations, but that is a good point to put it.
Do you find it hard to keep them up to track or to know which customer has what?
It depends on how many customers you have. I mean, if you only have like one website where a lot of people are coming there, I don't think it's hard to keep track of one file. Of course, if you have hundreds of customers, I don't know how you're managing through Puppet or something, then you should maybe enable it with a Puppet or with a Chef integration and say, okay, I somehow read or write my configurations directly through that. Or I have my own system which manages all the clients. So again, that is like, you have one solution and you have many things. It all depends how is it set up in your company. So, any more questions? You're asking if I want it to be pulled from the server, that I say a git pull, or I do an rsync. Again, that depends. I mean, I mostly just do a git pull. Just tell it, okay, pull everything, because it is deployable. As I said, my complete branch, my master branch, should always be in a deployable state. So I can also say, if it's an open server, just give the command, pull it again, you have it there. And then you switch over through a symlink. Then you say, okay, this is now my new code, switch over to symlink, my new code is running. I have no real preference on this. I've also done it through an async, but that was then because internally we didn't have access to a GitHub. Again, it depends what you have. Can you do a pull? Do I have the system that I can do a pull? Do I have access to a pull? Or do I only have access for pushing? Does that answer? Any more questions? Yeah. Of course, you can do that. You can put it into a branch. But the side effect is here. I mean, I just showed it about a voting. Now, let's say you're integrating very big features. If you're keeping them in your branch on your staging server, you might have a problem. It never really saw the real world outside. You're keeping your code hidden from everyone. It never got used in this case. And do you really know if it runs on a production at that point? Because you can already make a lot of things run just by disabling only the visual features, but you know it's running in a real life already, just that you can't see it. You might have a metrics running already in the back, like how many people have viewed this now? You're not showing the view, but you're already doing the count. And you're doing the count in a real life example. I wouldn't keep it in a separate branch. I wouldn't prefer this, because you're just keeping your whole code away from the production environment. Yes, Pierre? No. Of course not. So your question is, what is if I'm trying to continuously integrate and it takes 9 hours? Yes, for this kind of case, first of all, I would analyze, why is it taking 9 hours? Is it because my tests are crappy, that I'm doing some for each loops? Is it because I have hundred thousands of tests? I don't know it at the moment, but analyze it. If you have many tests, I would probably split them up into suites and let them run parallel on different servers. Let them parallelize everything. If your tests are not so good, you should probably think about, okay, what can we improve? What have we done wrong with the previous tests? How can we improve our tests that they run better? I have seen this kind of thing. What happened is we had an integration test, and in these integration tests, we were always deleting the database and every test and inserting all the data back into the server. So each test will say, delete the database, drop it, create a new again, insert all the data, and now you can do your test. And that was on, okay, I have an insert test, I have a delete test, I have whatever test I have. It's like, okay, let's have some coffee. We can't do this. So at this kind of point, you should probably also look that you make a story of your test. If you really have to drop the database, but if you're having an insert and a delete test, yeah, you can insert it, directly delete it after without deleting the database. You can do all your interactions there directly on that instance. I don't exactly understand the question. You mean you want to parallelize and sum it all up in some way? Yes. Yeah, of course. I mean, the metrics, they don't really care about the test, right? If you have a mess detection running on your PHP code, for example, the metrics don't really care about the PHP code. So you don't run the metrics and the unit test at the same time. Well, I mean, at the same time, yes, parallelize, but not that you do it synchronously. Like, okay, I do all the tests now, I do now the metrics, I do whatever else I need. No, you can run that all asynchronously next to each other. You can run it on a different server, maybe, because the code will not change during the unit testing. Okay. Any more?
You can pick the example of the building XML
Huh?
for our live stuff.
Yes.
9 hours with
Yes, I heard about that talk, but I didn't attend it, so I don't really know what it is. I was outside.
no, it's not talk, it's something we made. We broke down testing
Huh.
from 7 minutes to 30 seconds.
I mean, yes, I also did the same at my previous company. We had, like, as we ran the tests at the beginning, it was 20 minutes, and everyone was running for coffee, and coffee machine was going hot. So we parallelized everything, and we came down to nearly 2 minutes, just by running it on different servers or different instances. Again, that depends on, is it because you have many tests, or is it because my tests are written badly, or because of other things?
What's the hardest thing about continuous deployment?
Setting it up. The hardest thing about the continuous deployment is really it takes time to set it up. It takes time because you can't just say, okay, we're doing a continuous deployment now, but you have to go ahead, talk to your people. Like, what is the mindset? You have to know the mindset of the people. Like, do they want to do the integration test at every commit? Or do they maybe want to do it on a pull request of a branch? Because they're saying, I first want to finish everything and then let the tests run. Or you also have to take into consideration, do they want to still have a release schedule? As I discussed with the UI feature flags earlier, how do we do the release schedules? In which way? Do we just push the features out, or do we keep them hidden? You have to take a lot of things into consideration first before you even start setting it up. Now, what is the requirement? What kind of servers do I need? Do I really need big servers, or can I just run it on a single system that I just put somewhere in the corner? Again, I think that is the hardest part to really find out, what do I need for myself? What is a requirement of my customers, my application, my bosses, my colleagues? How can I bring all that together and really make a workflow that works for everyone, where everyone is in a happy state? Any more questions? I think we're good. Was a bit short. Thank you.